vast in Escape from Tarkov. My personal favourite is sniping. It's by far the most enjoyable and satisfying way to play in my opinion. The feeling's unlike any other when you decide to take someone's head off from 500 meters with your kitted out Remington 700. Gosh, yes, give me more of that please. But in truthfulness, when it comes to sniping, it can actually feel quite daunting, and it's a massive challenge to be a confident shot. Luckily for you, I've been sniping for long enough and I have picked up a few good tips that can actually help you become more confident when sniping. The major thing really is knowing how fast a bullet travels out of a weapon of different calibers. You can do this by combining a few different techniques. Studying different weapons that you would like to use either by double clicking on it in your inventory or inspecting the weapon by right clicking. Here you can see the weapon's muzzle velocity, and this is how fast a bullet will travel when shooting. Obviously hitting your target is easier when you don't need to lead your shot as much. You can pretty much just point and click on someone's head at all sorts of distances if you have a weapon with high muzzle velocity. Now it's not just the weapon that makes a difference, it's actually the ammo type as well, so when you're inspecting your weapon, make sure you have a bullet loaded in the chamber of the ammo type that you're going to be using in raid. And from there you can go ahead and inspect the weapon again, and the muzzle velocity stat on the inspect screen will change to calculate the bullet into the equation as well, and that will give you a good indication on how fast your weapon is as a whole. A little tip when picking your ammo choice as well, weapons with higher ammo penetration usually have better muzzle velocity attached to them, so bear that in mind. You could always take the weapon into an offline raid too, perch yourself up at different distances and either aim at AI scavs or a static object that you can see, and then you can see how the mil dots work on each scope. They do vary between optics though, so you do need to practice between them and get a good understanding on each optic. Range the weapon at 100 meters by pressing the page up and page down buttons by default and aim at the target of your choice. You can then fire a shot and see where the bullet impacts. If it goes lower than the target area, then aim higher, and if it's too high, then just aim lower. Linking this in with what I just mentioned, the arc of the bullet drop also depends on your weapon's muzzle velocity. So the higher it is on that weapon inspect screen, the flatter of the bullet drop arc, meaning that your bullet is going to stay consistent for longer and then drop off at later distances. And this is why I do recommend paying attention to that muzzle velocity stat, because if you are going in with weapons with higher muzzle velocity, then your sniping ability is going to be so much easier and feel more natural, because you just need to point and click at people's heads rather than calculating the bullet lead and the arc of the travel of the bullet itself. It's a nightmare if you're going in with, say, an SKS. It doesn't have much muzzle velocity in comparison to something like a Remington 700. If you're struggling to see where the bullet impacts or the travel of the bullet itself when firing, either in an offline raid or an online raid, then I'd recommend using a tracer round. There are plenty of tracer rounds in Escape from Tarkov for many different calibers. The most common for sniping is obviously the M62 rounds, which fire an easy to distinguish green tracer. The reason these are so popular for sniping is due to the caliber itself, 7.62x51 NATO, which is actually the caliber for a large number of snipers in Escape from Tarkov and other long-range weapons. The Remington 700, RSAS and M1A, just to name a few. On screen now will be a list of all tracer rounds within EFT, so you can have a choice of ammunition depending on the weapon that you're choosing to use. After all weapons can be effective at long range, some just work better than others. Many people that snipe and Escape from Tarkov go straight to higher points in maps like woods or shoreline, and for me, I always advise against this. Getting to the higher points do not always mean that you're going to be able to do the most. After all, the higher points on the map are usually the most commonly checked spots by other players, and they have plenty of blind spots for people to sneak up behind you and take you out. Being in a spot that most players commonly overlook with a decent line of sight is going to make you a much more effective sniper when engaging targets. Dark places with trees and shadows work great, as in theory you could be hiding in plain sight, giving you more chances to put shots down range before they know where you are. If you're sniping from, say, the spine rock on the map woods and you start engaging an enemy either solo and you miss your shot, or a group of targets and you're outnumbered, their attention is instantly going to be drawn to the obvious sniping spots around the map around them. You also need hard cover to dip in and out of, otherwise when you're seen by an enemy or a scav, you're a sitting duck. Trees and rocks will give you a decent amount of cover if you need to get the fuck out of your current position. In short, with this, don't allow yourself to get boxed in somewhere with all your exit points covered, lay low and be patient. Sniping is not a playstyle where you shoot at first sight of a target. Stalking your prey and waiting for the perfect moment will give you a much better chance at succeeding. You need to make one shot count to either level the playing field or win the gunfight outright. Sometimes you may miss your first shot, obviously, not everyone hits their first shots all the time, but making sure timing is right before engaging will give you a lot better chance. Either wait until they are looting, standing still, or moving slower. That's when you're going to have a greater chance of killing them. When tracking targets with the sniper scope, you'll also need to predict their movements. This is quite easy if you're somewhat familiar with a map. If they're walking in one direction at the start of the raid, then they're usually heading away from their spawn into their extract on the other side of the map. And if you're towards the end of the raid, that usually flips. The other rules now apply. They're now heading towards the extract and they're usually closer to it. So combining this mentality with the base map knowledge, you won't find it hard to know roughly where they're heading to. This will allow you to set up good flanking positions and get around in front of them so you have a better chance of shooting them when they're out in the open with no cover. Don't be afraid to tail them on foot either. Usually if you're moving slow enough, you'll find that they're stopping at certain points to loot around the map, so you can then take advantage of that situation and either move around in front of them or take them out while they're looting. As a whole, patience is key though, not only in the ability of learning how to snipe efficiently, because that is going to take time in itself, but also being able to sit in raid for a while without seeing anyone or even firing a bullet. Sit, wait, let it marinate, a great little phrase used a lot by my little southern red-bearded friend. It's true, you'll never expect someone to line up for you and get those easy kills, and you won't get people coming straight to your line of sight. If you want to be an effective sniper, then it can mean that you're just sitting around for a couple of minutes, then moving, then sitting around for a couple of minutes again. But at the same time, you'll have to move around the map too, so that's why I recommend having a backup shit-hit-the-fan weapon. Something that's got a fast fire rate and that could be used in close to mid-range combat effectively. Submachine guns like the MPX or the MP5 are usually my go-tos, unless I have a task that requires me to kill scavs with an AKM for an example. If you don't want to bring a submachine gun, you could be just as effective with a pistol as a backup weapon too. Quite often I'll carry a Remington 700 as my sniper and a 5.7 as my pistol, and it works really well. This however isn't so important if you have a weapon like an M4, SKS, AK, RSAS and others that can hold their own in all types of combat ranges. Just give yourself a backup sight to switch between when engaging people at closer ranges and stick with a sniper scope at longer. Also, if you're using a weapon like this, then it's pretty obvious, set your weapon to semi-auto when engaging at a distance and full auto if possible when engaging at closer range, and don't forget which fire mode you're on at that time, because there's nothing worse than pressing and holding your left click when expecting to full auto fire and a lone bullet spits out your weapon. It's just as infuriating when you're expected to take out people at distance and you want to be accurate, and all of a sudden you're shooting bullets into the atmosphere because you're on full auto and you've just mag dumped a whole load of really expensive ammo into a seagull that's flying around the place. I have to stress though, learning to snipe takes time, so finding a weapon and an optic that you enjoy is extremely important. You will have to test it in both offline raids and online raids to get the true feel of the weapon, and honestly it's going to take a few deaths before you realise whether something is good and you like it or something's not. Take note of the sight picture too. Some scopes may have a really good sight picture but really shit at ranging, and others may be the opposite way around. Scopes are very personal preference. Personally, I love the Valde scope because of how clean the sight picture is, and then I hate the new NC Star ADO P4 sniper scope because of how cluttered it is. Yes, you may have a better opportunity to range with the ADO, but the Valde takes the distraction away from me and I find it a much easier scope to use. Take the time to make a decision on both the weapon and the sight that you would like to use, and then take even more time to learn how to use it. Even then, it won't be a walk in the park, but over time, things will get a lot easier. Another small thing, if you're using a bolt action sniper like the very commonly used Mosin or the SV98, then after you left click to fire, don't let go. This will allow you to delay the chambering of the next round and continue to see where the bullet travels to see whether you hit the target or missed. Then you can release the left click to chamber the next round and get back on target and fire again. If you miss, this will also give you a clear view on what you need to adjust, whether it be the aiming higher or lower with the bullet arc, or reducing or increasing the lead when you're following targets that are on the move. With a guard like this, there is unfortunately no good way to wave a magic wand and tell you every secret under the sun to instantly make you a god at sniping, but trust me when I say, when you've gone and practiced, it will come out that you've got some pretty surprising shots under your belt, and you could be extremely proud of them. Practice does make perfect in this case, and it's more prominent than ever. If you have any tips of your own, I'd like you to leave them down below in the comments to help the community out, and we can form a discussion down there. I'd like to thank you all for staying to the end of this video, and if you did enjoy it, a like is always appreciated. And if you want to stay up to date with all my latest content, then you can hit that little red button below and subscribe to the channel. It really would mean the world to me. 80% of you, according to YouTube's analytics, that watch my videos are not subscribed, so if you do feel like doing it, hit that little red button. It's free, and it makes me feel special. It might even get me rock hard, who knows. And if you want to play with me or many other people, then hit up the link in the description and join my Discord. There's people there that play Tarkov and many other games. Hit me up, we can play together sometime too. If you're a fan on how the gameplay looked in this video, then that's thanks to the long-term sponsor of the channel, Shadow. Shadow can turn any PC, tablet, phone or Mac into a high-powered gaming PC using cloud gaming. Unlike Stadia or GeForce Now, you aren't just paying for a gaming big picture mode, but a Windows desktop client with top-of-the-range hardware located at your local data center. If you have an internet connection of 15 megabytes or more and fancy giving this a go, then click the link in the description. It will take you to their website where you can do more research and find out if Shadow is available where you are. If you decide to sign up using the code Samosh, will give you money off your first month. And once again, thank you for staying to the end of the video. I love every one of you. I'll see you next time. Enjoy your evening.